Okay, everyone, so quick update. So I got the boot on the CDI and got it mounted up under there. So here's how much space I got between that wire and the head casing. So should be fine. It's definitely better than what it was instead of just free hanging. Now, one thing I did want to notice or tell y'all, the boot itself, I coated in this Bel-Ray waterproof grease. Now look, this stuff, this one tub, that's all that's missing out of it. This one tub I've had for probably close to 10 years, maybe a little less, and that's all I've ever used out of it. I don't use it for a whole lot, but when I need it, I use it. And now the reason why I use Bel-Ray, I can't say anything bad against them. I've used them for used that for a long time. It works. It is supposed to be used for marine applications like jet skis and boats and stuff like that. So if it's good enough for that to be waterproof, it'll definitely work on something like this. So I coated the boot all the way around in Bel-Ray grease, and then put grease on the CDI itself slightly around, so that way it'll slide on easy, and then just mounted it up under there. Now the reason being why I coated it in this is because this boot is going to be out in open weather. I want to give it a little bit of protection against the elements, and being waterproof can definitely only help. So I coated the inside and the outside of it. So now it should be fairly okay. So I just want to give you all an update on that. So next is the motor mounts, and I got those done. So here, I'm going to show you what they look like now. Let's see. So I'm just going to show you one real quick. So here you go. Now I know what you're thinking, that it's like, oh my god, it looks awful. It's actually got a really cool like spider crackling textured effect, and I'm actually okay with that. It was actually a really happy coincidence. So yeah. So now people, it's one thing checked off the list. So next thing will be the motor mounts, getting them installed. Now the bolts that I got for it, they may wind up being a little long. If they are, I'm gonna try and take them back to Ace and see if I can find some shorter ones. I'm sure they have shorter ones, but short enough, with a little bit left over just in case, is something different. If I have to, I'll just use my cutoff wheel and just chop them, but I'm going to use that as a last resort. I'm going to go try and see if they have shorter ones in stock. So let me go there first before I go to hacking stuff. So to be continued here in about 2 seconds. All right, bye. Hey everyone, so welcome back. Another day and a half later and $1 short. So here's where we're sitting at. I got one bolt through on the motor mount. Here, let me show you. So as you can see, I got that one in right there, and that one are not installed yet. Now I put the nut on this side, on the left hand side of the bike. So the nut's on this side. The reason being is because if you look at it from, let's see, where is it? Oh, there it is. If you look at it from this side, the bolt head is right behind these cables that go to the carburetor. So I don't want to have them, have the shank of the bolt moving out and possibly hitting these things. I want them to be tight up against the frame and not be rubbing against these if I can help it. So I'm going to get the other two installed. I'm going to tighten them all up and see where they sit. If they're not giving these cables enough room for play, then I might go with some cap screws. I'm not sure yet, but we'll find out. Okay, I'll come back in a minute. Alright, so not fully done yet, but this is something I wanted to show y'all, or a little tip and trick that I've learned over the years. So of course, you're gonna have to put a washer against the plate before you put the nut on. So, you know, if you look at a washer and you take like the tip of your finger and rub against the edge, there's going to be a sharp edge and there's going to be a chamfered edge. Now the chamfered edge is going to feel like it's just a nice gradual curve like that. It's going to feel pretty smooth. The other side will feel like just a rough cut. That's what this side feels like. So the chamfered edge you want to put against the painted surface, so that way when you tighten it down it won't notch into the paint, because that sharp side it will. So just a little FYI, in case you don't know that. Minute or two later, here we are. So fully installed, all 3 nuts and bolts fully tightened, and this is on the right side of the bike. So now this one, all right, well here, let me start. This one I could get a socket onto. This one couldn't, because this is in the way. I had to loosen this off with a 10 mil wrench just so I can move the cable out of the way enough to where I could get the bolt through in the first place. But after that I put it right back to where it was. Now tightening it up, there was just enough room to get a wrench, like a normal wrench, in there, so I just held it in with a 13 millimeter wrench on the bolt head and then tightened it from the other side, with a socket. So here we go. Now they look pretty good. Now I don't know if they're gonna chip, at some point. I mean, they very well might. They very well may. But I mean, if you can tell here, see, so you got 3 mil plate worth there, 3 mil plate there, so 6 mil total. That's pretty beef. That's plenty good for a top motor mount, and plus it actually gives it, a decent amount of class, I guess, or kind of an old school look to it. But yeah, so now in regards to what I said about having to shave off the ends of the bolts, now if you can see that, there's only about 3 or 4 threads worth of bolt sticking out, so I ain't worried about it. It's the same thing up here on this one, and same thing over here on this one. I ain't that worried about it. It's cool. It ain't gonna matter worth of anything. So that's that. So that's one more thing done. Yay. New issue. So the handlebar clamps. Now this bolt I took out, so don't worry about that. It's fine. I got a set of vernier calipers, and the bolt is sitting in that case because I'm planning on going to a local hardware store. It's for machine screws and set screws and stuff that most hardware stores don't carry. So they'll probably have the bolt for this. Now the reason being that there's 2 missing is the one that I took out went right there. That one was just flat out missing. So I have to get that one replaced. Now I looked on bikebandit.com, and the bolt is only like $1 and some change, but I don't feel like waiting around. So if I can, I'm going to go to that shop and see if I can find a replacement bolt, in which case it's a couple miles down the road, and if they got it, then I'm only out a little bit of gas and $1 and some change for the bolt. If they don't have it, then I'll go and order it. But yeah, so I'm going to try and do the path of least resistance. But other than that, since this is now done, now I can actually concentrate on the rear fender, thank goodness. So on the next go around, we're going to tackle that, or at least where the turn signals are going to be mounted and whatnot. Now one thing I did want to mention is, oh yeah, by the way, haha, I got my motorcycle lift. So yeah, so what we're going to do is, once I get the motorcycle lift, if I don't have to put it together, then we are going to do the rear wheel bearings and races. And then once we get that done, I found out something else while I was looking through stuff. So obviously here's the exhaust, but here's the problem. This is held in right here, where that bolt is, if you can see it, and there's supposed to be another one up here, but I think it may have been sheared off. I'm not sure, but I have to figure that out. But what I was going to say was, since I have the lift, since we got to strip down the entire front end, I'm going to strip down the entire front end, rebuild all of that, but I'm not going to put it back together for at least a minute, just so I can tackle the exhaust and try and figure out how to fix that. And I was going to do exhaust wraps on it anyways, so that way I don't have to polish and clean it per se. I mean, I'll give it a good clean down, but I'm not going to go through the whole aspect of polishing it. I'm just going to put exhaust wraps on it and then maybe polish the actual mufflers. But at least with the front end off, it'll give me more room to work in there and get that stuff done. So there's a little bit of an update for you. But yeah, so still waiting on the title. When it gets here, it'll get here. I'm keeping in touch with Chris. He's keeping me apprised of what's going on. And yeah, because of all this COVID-19 stuff, I mean, it could very well be just a good another week or so before the DMV can finally get around to issuing him the title and him sending it to me and da-da-da-da-da. But as it stands right now, we're getting a little bit farther. I mean, it's taking a little bit, but, you know, hey. But, I mean, look. So here's the thing, people, and you got to remember this. Yes, it's a process. It's a process. It's a process. But look at it from this perspective. I'm only about 9.5 man hours into this, maybe 10 at this point, you know, give or take. But I'm at about $452 out of my $500 build budget. But bear in mind, I've bought almost all the parts that I need for this bike, minus that bolt that I was telling you about a minute ago. So, yeah, it's getting there. And, you know, the paint on the tank and the tins, and then, you know, getting the seat refoamed and recovered, those two are going to be the most expensive things. But, you know, and I'll be over budget with that. But, I mean, as it stands right now, considering the fact I've gotten like all of the parts that I need, I'm doing okay. You know, I still got about another $48 before I hit my 500 limit, you know, original limit. But as it stands right now, it's not looking that bad. I mean, so yeah. I mean, you know, with the exhaust being the exhaust of, you know, finding out about that, you know, I'll probably hit my 500 limit just with that. I might go over with that. But look, if I wind up at like 750, then I'm not that bad off. But I'll figure it out. So, but I'm fairly certain I'll probably be able to make all of the money back. Like, you know, if I do find a, you know, the right buyer for this bike. So yeah. But I'll leave it there for now, and yeah. So thanks for sticking with me, and again, we'll start on the rear fender on the next one. And so yeah, that's about all I got. But at least the top motor mounts are done now, so y'all don't have to see that stuff no more. All right, bye.